You're smiling, but your eyes don't know how to lie. It's strange, isn't it? How you perfected that smile. How you rehearsed it so many times it feels automatic now. I can hear it, the crack underneath it. You think no one notices. You think if you laugh loud enough, the silence inside you will shrink. It doesn't. You're smiling, but you're not okay. I know that smile. I wore it once. I wore it so well, people thought I was strong. They called me resilient. Resilient. I was just tired. Tired of pretending the noise didn't hurt. Tired of acting like the trail was a lesson instead of a scar. Tired of laughing while something inside me was collapsing. It's funny, right? How pain makes you entertaining. How suffering becomes a performance. You learn to make jokes about your wounds. You learn to turn heartbreak into charm. You learn to hide the shaking in your hands by keeping them busy. But when the room gets quiet, when the lights dim, when there's no one left to impress, the mask slips. I remember the first time it slipped for me. No applause, no audience, just me and the sound of my own breathing. And I realized I didn't even recognize my own face without the smile. You get hurt, you get ignored, you get used, and they tell you to stay positive. So you do. You smile. You smile when you're disappointed. You smile when you're exhausted. You smile when you're breaking. But your body remembers. Your chest tightens. Your jaw locks. Your sleep fractures. And at night, when there's no one to entertain, the silence gets loud. That's when you finally hear it. The truth you buried under jokes. You're not okay. And maybe that's not weakness. Maybe it's honesty. Maybe it's the first crack in the mask. Maybe it's the first real thing you felt in a long time. You're smiling, but you're not okay. And this time, don't laugh it away. You want the truth? Not the poetic version, not the dramatic one, the ugly one. You're not okay. And you're tired of pretending you are. But here's what hurts more. You don't let anyone see it. Not because you're strong, because you're afraid. Afraid that if you stop smiling, people will leave. Respect will disappear. The illusion will collapse. So you perform every day, every conversation. And you're exhausted. You think I don't see it? I see the jaw clench. I see the fake laugh that lasts half a second too long. I see the silence after everyone leaves. That silence is loud, isn't it? Louder than the crowd. Louder than the music. Louder than your own voice. And in that silence, you don't feel powerful. you feel small. You built armor. You sharpened your words. You turned sarcasm into a shield. But shields get heavy, and you've been carrying yours alone. Let's stop pretending. You're not okay because you never allowed yourself to process what broke you. Betrayal doesn't disappear because you joke about it. Disappointment doesn't shrink because you stay busy. Loneliness doesn't fade because you fill your phone with noise. You were loyal. You tried. You gave more than you received. And when it collapsed, you blamed yourself. You told yourself you weren't enough, that you should have been smarter, that you should have seen it coming. That's the part that still hurts. Not what they did, what you told yourself afterward. And now you're smiling. Because if you don't, you might break in public. But listen to me, breaking isn't weakness. Pretending is. You're allowed to admit you're not okay. You're allowed to feel heavy. You're allowed to stop performing. What you're not allowed to do is stay there forever. Pain explains you. It does not define you. It does not get to drive your life. You can be hurt and still build. You can be tired and still move. You can be broken and still become dangerous. You're smiling, but you're not okay. And maybe the strongest thing you'll ever do is stop pretending you are. You don't collapse all at once. You erode quietly, politely. You learn to function, to answer, to joke at the right moment, to nod like nothing inside you is shaking. But something is. It's always shaking. You feel it in your chest when the room empties. In that second when the laughter fades and you're left with the echo. That echo stays longer than the joke, longer than the smile. You became good at being fine. You became excellent at surviving. But survival isn't healing. You keep telling yourself you've moved on, that it doesn't bother you anymore, that you're stronger now. Stronger. If you were stronger, you wouldn't feel that hollow drop when someone leaves. You wouldn't tense up when someone raises their voice. You wouldn't flinch at silence. You were hurt. Not in a dramatic way, in the slow way. The kind that rewires you. The kind that teaches you to smile early so no one sees the crack. And now you're tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of holding it together. But listen carefully. Feeling broken is not the end. Staying broken is. You don't need to explode. You don't need to collapse. You need to stop lying. Admit it. You're not okay. And that's where rebuilding starts. You're smiling, but you're not okay. And that truth is the first honest thing you've said in a long time. Let's do this differently. No shouting, no performance, just the part you never let surface. You built a version of yourself that survives rooms, a version that laughs on cue, a version that knows when to nod, a version that never lets the mask slip too long. It's impressive, really, the way you adapted. You learned early that vulnerability makes people uncomfortable, that sadness is inconvenient, that pain makes others quiet in the wrong way. So you stopped showing it. You didn't become cold, you became careful. You didn't become heartless, you became guarded. And somewhere in that guarding, you forgot how to be seen. You're smiling, but you're calculating, measuring reactions, managing impressions. And when the day ends, when the lights dim, when the noise drops, the effort catches up. That's when it hits. The weight you postponed, the ache you postponed, the questions you postponed. Why did that hurt so much? Why did I let that slide? Why do I still care? That laugh, that reflex, it's protection. You learn to laugh at pain before it laughs at you. You learn to joke before someone else does. You learn to stay one step ahead of embarrassment. But here's the cost. Protection becomes isolation. Guarding becomes distance. And distance becomes loneliness. You don't tell anyone how heavy it feels. You don't tell anyone how tired you are. You don't tell anyone that sometimes the smile feels like effort. Not because you want attention, but because you don't want to be a burden. And that's where it twists. You protect others from your sadness, but no one protects you from it. So you carry it quietly, through conversations, through obligations, through routines that never ask how you feel. It builds, not loudly, slowly. And you know what's dangerous about slow pain? You get used to it. You normalize the tight chest. You normalize the restless nights. You normalize the emotional distance. Until one day, you don't recognize yourself anymore. That's when frustration appears, not at others, at yourself. Why am I like this? Why can't I just move on? Why does this still bother me? Because you never let it breathe. You suppressed it. You smiled over it. You outran it. Pain doesn't disappear when ignored. It waits. And the longer it waits, the more it shapes your reactions. The way you pull back. The way you distrust. The way you assume the worst. You weren't born distant. You weren't born guarded. You adapted. But adaptation is not identity. You can change it. Not by pretending you're fine, not by doubling the smile, but by admitting the crack exists. You're not weak for hurting. You're not dramatic for feeling. You're human. And here's the shift. You don't have to collapse to be honest. You can say quietly, I'm not okay. And still stand, and still move, and still build. Strength isn't the absence of pain. It's the decision not to let pain decide everything. So yes, you're smiling. But now, you know why. And knowing is the first real step toward healing. Now that you know why, you can't unknow it. That's the uncomfortable part. Awareness removes excuses. It removes the luxury of pretending. It removes the illusion that you're just tired. You're not just tired. You're emotionally overextended. You're carrying conversations you never finished. You're carrying apologies you never received. And you keep telling yourself it's small, that it doesn't matter, that you're overreacting. But your body doesn't lie. Your shoulders tighten, your jaw locks, your sleep fractures. That's not imagination. Stop minimizing it. Stop telling yourself you're dramatic. You've been swallowing things that should have been processed. And swallowing pain repeatedly, it changes your posture toward the world. You become less open, less trusting, less spontaneous, not because you're cold, because you're cautious. And caution keeps you safe, but it also keeps you alone. You don't let people see you confused. You don't let people see you shaken. You don't let people see you vulnerable. Because last time you did, someone mishandled it. That wasn't your fault. But the walls you built afterward, those are your responsibility. And this is where growth begins. Not in denial, not in self-pity, in ownership. You can admit the hurt and still refuse to let it dictate your future. You can acknowledge the scar without worshiping it. Stop romanticizing the damage. Stop building your identity around what broke you. You are more than the worst thing that happened to you. Healing is not dramatic. It's repetitive. It's daily choices, choosing better sleep, choosing fewer distractions, choosing conversations that are honest, choosing boundaries without apology. You don't need to announce your healing. You live it. Some days it will feel heavy. Some days the old ache will return. Some days the smile will feel fake again. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. You rebuild trust in yourself the same way you rebuild anything, with consistency, with small promises kept, with returning when you slip. That's where your power is. Not in pretending you're unaffected, in proving you're resilient without lying. You don't get to stay stuck. You don't get to hide forever. You don't get to use pain as a permanent excuse. But you do get to grow. You do get to change your pattern. You do get to build something steadier than your past. You're smiling, but now you understand the cost. And maybe the next time you smile, it won't be a shield. It will be lighter, less rehearsed, less defensive. Not because the world changed, because you did. But change doesn't feel heroic. It doesn't feel cinematic. It feels quiet. And quiet makes you nervous. Because in quiet, there's no distraction to hide behind. You're used to noise. Noise that drowns the ache. Noise that fills the gaps. Noise that makes you feel less alone. But noise never healed you. It only postponed the conversation, the one you avoid with yourself. The conversation about what you tolerated, about what you accepted, about what you didn't say, about where you betrayed your own needs to keep the peace. That part hurts more than the betrayal, realizing you abandoned yourself. But you can stop doing that today. You can stop laughing at jokes that disrespect you. You can stop agreeing when something feels wrong. You can stop shrinking to keep others comfortable. You can stop apologizing for having limits. You're not too sensitive. You're aware. And awareness demands response. This is where discipline becomes emotional, not just productivity. Self-respect. You rebuild self-respect in small, almost invisible ways by saying no once, by leaving when it feels wrong, by speaking up calmly, by keeping your own boundaries. Boundaries are not cruelty. They're clarity. And clarity feels lonely at first, because not everyone benefits from your growth. Some people preferred the version of you that overextended, that laughed it off, that absorbed everything quietly. But that version was breaking, and you know it. Healing isn't soft all the time. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's isolating. Sometimes it feels like loss. Because you are losing a version of yourself, the one who survived by shrinking. And that loss deserves acknowledgement. You survived the only way you knew how. Thank that version. Then outgrow it. Outgrowing doesn't mean forgetting. It means integrating. Learning without living there forever. You don't erase the pain. You stop orbiting it. And here's the part you don't want to admit. You've used the pain to define yourself. I'm the one who was hurt. I'm the one who was betrayed. I'm the one who had to be strong. That story protected you, but it also froze you. You can rewrite it, not by denying it, by expanding it. I was hurt, and I learned, and I built boundaries, and I didn't let it end me. That's strength. You don't need to perform strength. You need to practice it. Practice looks like honest reflection, disciplined routines, uncomfortable conversations, and consistent self-respect. And yes, some days you'll still feel fragile. Some days the smile will slip. Some days the ache will return. But now you won't panic. You'll recognize it. You'll breathe. You'll continue. Because you're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to be whole. And wholeness includes scars. Healing isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It shifts in small, almost invisible ways. You'll notice it when you stop over-explaining yourself, when you stop laughing at things that aren't funny, when you let silence sit without panicking, when you say no and don't replay it all night. You'll still have heavy days, days where the old ache resurfaces, days where you question your progress. That doesn't mean you're back at the beginning. It means you're moving through layers. Pain isn't a straight line. Growth isn't either. It circles, it revisits, it tests. And when it tests you, don't respond with panic. Respond with steadiness. Steadiness is power. It's quiet, but it holds. The world may not notice your change immediately. People might still treat you like the old version. That's fine. You're not changing for applause. You're changing for alignment. Alignment feels strange at first, because you're used to adjusting yourself for others. Now you're adjusting your life for yourself. And there will be moments, small, quiet moments, where you catch yourself not reacting the old way. You'll notice you didn't overthink that comment. You didn't chase that person. You didn't shrink to keep the peace. You simply stayed. That's growth. Not dramatic, just solid. And if someone tries to pull you back into old patterns, into old roles, you don't explode, you don't defend, you don't perform. You remain. Remaining is strength. Remaining is maturity. Remaining is identity. You're smiling, but this time it's not to hide. It's because you survived. It's because you're rebuilding. It's because you're not running anymore. You're not okay, not fully, but you're honest. And honesty is stronger than pretending. You have hidden long enough. You have survived long enough. You have rehearsed that smile long enough. You don't need another coping mechanism. You need a decision. Not a dramatic one, not one you post, one you live. Decide that you will stop performing pain. Decide that you will stop decorating wounds. Decide that you will stop feeding the version of you that enjoys staying fragile. Strength is not loud. It is chosen. And right now, you are at a line. On one side, the familiar ache, the familiar excuse, the familiar mask. On the other side, responsibility, boundaries, growth. You cannot carry both. You cannot cling to the mask and build the truth. You cannot protect your weakness and expect strength. So drop it. Not the emotion, not the memory, the performance. Let the smile mean something again. Let it come from steadiness, not survival. You are not okay. That is real, but you are not powerless. You are not the damage. You are not the betrayal. You are not the silence that followed. You are the decision that follows all of it. The choice, the response. You can stand up tomorrow without the mask. You can build quietly. You can move forward without announcing it. And when you smile next, let it be because you chose strength, not because you were afraid to show weakness. You're smiling, and now you know why. Make sure the next one is real.